Chapter 15 of Three Men and a Maid. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Tim Bulkley of BigBible.org. Three Men and a Maid by P.G. Wodehouse. Chapter 15. At 2:30 that afternoon, full of optimism and cold beef, gaily unconscious that Webster, with measured strides, was approaching ever nearer, with the note that would give it him in the neck proper, Samuel Marlowe dangled his feet from the top bar of the gate at the end of the lane and smoked contentedly as he waited for Billy to make her appearance. He had had an excellent lunch, his pipe was drawing well, and all nature smiled. The breeze from the sea across the meadows tickled pleasantly on the back of his head and sang a soothing song in the long grass and ragged robins at his feet. He was looking forward with a roseate glow of anticipation to the moment when the white flutter of Billy's dress would break the green of the foreground. How eagerly he would jump from the gate! How lovingly he would... The elegant figure of Webster interrupted his reverie. Sam had never seen Webster before, and it was with no pleasure that he saw him now. He had come to regard this lane as his own property, and he resented trespassers. He tucked his legs under him and scowled at Webster under the brim of his hat. The valet advanced towards him with the air of an affable executioner stepping daintily to the block. "Mr. Marlowe, sir?" he inquired politely. Sam was startled. He could make nothing of this. "Eh? What?" "Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. S. Marlowe?" "Yes, that's my name." "Mine is Webster, sir. I am Mr. Bennett's personal gentleman's gentleman. Miss Bennett entrusted me with this note to deliver to you, sir." Sam began to grasp the situation. For some reason or other, the dear girl had been prevented from coming this afternoon, and she had written to explain and to relieve his anxiety. It was like her. It was just the sweet, thoughtful thing he would have expected her to do. His contentment with the existing scheme of things returned. The sun shone out again, and he found himself amiably disposed towards the messenger. "Fine day," he said, as he took the note. "Extremely, sir," said Webster, outwardly unemotional, inwardly full of a grave pity. It was plain to him that there had been no previous little rift to prepare the young man for the cervical operation which awaited him, and he edged a little nearer in order to be handy to catch Sam if the shock knocked him off the gate. As it happened, it did not. Having read the opening words of the note, Sam rocked violently, but his feet were twined about the lower bars, and this saved him from overbalancing. Webster stepped back, relieved. The note fluttered to the ground. Webster, picking it up and handing it back, was able to get a glimpse of the first two sentences. They confirmed his suspicions. The note was hot stuff. Assuming that it continued as it began, it was about the warmest thing of its kind that pen had ever written. Webster had received one or two heated epistles from the sex in his time. Your man of gallantry can hardly hope to escape these unpleasantnesses. But none had got off the mark quite so swiftly, and with quite so much frigid violence as this. "Thanks," said Sam mechanically. "Not at all, sir. You're very welcome." Sam resumed his reading. A cold perspiration broke out on his forehead. His toes curled, and something seemed to be crawling down the small of his back. His heart had moved from its proper place and was now beating in his throat. He swallowed once or twice to remove the obstruction, but without success. A kind of pall had settled on the landscape, blotting out the sun. Of all the rotten sensations in this world, the worst is the realization that 1,000-to-1 chance has come off and caused our wrongdoing to be detected. There had seemed no possibility of that little ruse of his being discovered. Yet here was Billy in full possession of the facts. It almost made the thing worse that she did not say how she had come into possession of them. This gave Sam that feeling of self-pity, that sense of having been ill-used by fate, which makes the bringing home of crime so particularly poignant. "Fine day," he muttered. He had a sort of subconscious feeling that it was imperative to keep engaging Webster in light conversation. "Yes, sir. Weather still keeps up," agreed the valet suavely. Sam frowned over the note. He felt injured. Sending a fellow notes didn't give him a chance. If she'd come in person and denounced him, it would not have been an agreeable experience, but at least it would have been possible then to have pleaded and cajoled and all that sort of thing. But what could he do now? It seemed to him that his only possible course was to write a note in reply, begging her to see him. He explored his pockets and found a pencil and a scrap of paper. For some moments he scribbled desperately. Then he folded the note. "Will you take this to Miss Bennett?" he said, holding it out. Webster took the missive, because he wanted to read it later at his leisure, but he shook his head. "Useless, I fear, sir," he said gravely. "What do you mean?" "I'm afraid it would effect little or nothing, sir. Sending our Miss B notes. She is not in the proper frame of mind to appreciate them. I saw her face when she handed me the letter you have just read, and I assure you, sir, she is not in a malleable mood." "You seem to know a lot about it." "I have studied the sex, sir," said Webster modestly. "I mean about my business, confound it. You seem to know all about it." "Why, yes, sir. I think I may say that I have grasped the position of affairs, and if you will permit me to say so, sir, you have my respectful sympathy." Dignity is a sensitive plant which flourishes only under the fairest conditions. Sam's had perished in the bleak east wind of Billy's note. In other circumstances he might have resented this intrusion of a stranger into his most intimate concerns. His only emotion now was one of dull but distinct gratitude. The four winds of heaven blew chilly upon his raw and unprotected soul, and he wanted to wrap it up in a mantle of sympathy, careless of the source from which he borrowed that mantle. If Webster, the valet, felt disposed, as he seemed to indicate, to comfort him, let the thing go on. At that moment Sam would have accepted condolences from a coal heaver. "I was reading a story, one of the Nosegay novelettes. I do not know if you are familiar with the series, sir, in which much the same situation occurred. It was entitled Cupid or Mammon. The heroine, Lady Blanche Trefusis, forced by her parents to wed a wealthy suitor, dispatches a note to her humble lover, informing him that it cannot be. I believe it often happens like that, sir." "You're all wrong," said Sam. "It's not like that at all." "Indeed, sir, I supposed it was." "Nothing like it. I Sam's dignity on its deathbed made a last effort to assert itself. "I don't know what it's got to do with you." "Precisely, sir," said Webster with dignity. "Just as you say. Good afternoon, sir." He swayed gracefully, conveying a suggestion of departure without moving his feet. The action was enough for Sam. Dignity gave an expiring gurgle and passed away, regretted by all. "Don't go!" he cried. The idea of being alone in this infernal lane without human support overpowered him. Moreover, Webster had personality. He exuded it. Already Sam had begun to cling to him in spirit and rely on his support. "Don't go." "Certainly not, if you do not wish it, sir." Webster coughed gently to show his appreciation of the delicate nature of the conversation. He was consumed with curiosity, and his threatened departure had been but a pretence. A team of horses could not have moved Webster at that moment. "Might I ask, then, what?" "There's been a misunderstanding," said Sam. "At least there was, but now there isn't, if you see what I mean." "I fear I have not quite grasped your meaning, sir." "Well, I played a sort of, you might almost call it a sort of trick on Miss Bennett. With the best of motives, of course." "Of course, sir." "And she's found out. I don't know how she's found out, but she has. So there you are." "Of what nature would the trick be, sir? A species of ruse, sir? Some kind of innocent deception?" "Well, it was like this." It was a complicated story to tell, and Sam, a prey to conflicting emotions, told it badly. But such was the almost superhuman intelligence of Webster that he succeeded in grasping the salient points. Indeed, he said it reminded him of something of much the same kind in a Nosegay novelette, All for Her, where the hero, anxious to win the esteem of the lady of his heart, had bribed a tramp to simulate an attack upon her in a lonely road. "The principle's the same," said Webster. "Well, what did he do when she found out?" "She did not find out, sir. all